Welcome to Swimming with Sepsey, where we break down various life topics, bring on inspirational guests to talk about their lives, their experiences, and encourage you to swim through your own inner thoughts, emotions, and feelings to inspire a change within you that will hopefully lead to an outer change in your own personal reality. I ask that throughout this episode and all future episodes that you come with an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to look at yourself in a different way and to look at the world in a different way. I'm grateful for each and every one of you that's tuned in this current moment, and I look forward to sharing many more moments with you. And with that, let's dive on in. Oh, that was
kind of cool.
That was close.
They would call that a flam in drums.
A flam.
Slightly,
that.
just like one after the other.
Nice. I'll take it. We're close enough. All right. Welcome to Swimming with Sepsey with your host, Joshua Sepsey, and our co-host, Nicki Tomacheski. Ow, ow. And guest star, Freya.
Sniffing my
little
foot.
Bean, a little sniffing your feet. I don't know if you can see her.
Girl. Hey, pretty girl.
Hey, sweetheart. Hey, baby. Hey. Oh. Can you go under there? Okay, but you can't mess with the plant. You can't mess with anything. She's not going to listen.
She's going to tear the whole set down mid-set.
Yeah, she's not going to listen. She's a cat. That's okay. Because she's my cat.
She does her own thing. She's got her own autonomy.
She does.
I love that about her.
She's hilarious, actually. She's probably the funniest thing about me. I'm just kidding.
She's gone out of the room. Your personality tells her
just a
goes
dud,
away.
just turning gray. I'm nothing without my cat.
No, that's cute. She makes you better. That's a good relationship to have, man.
I don't know if she makes me better or if, like, we kind of just accepted that we both live with each other. So we have to put up with our shit. If she has to deal with me doing this.
I was going to say, who has more shit, you think, in the morning?
She's actually been pretty good since I got her an automatic feeder. She kind of, she goes, she eats, and then she just kind of comes right back in and snuggles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes she'll get in moods where she really wants to play, but then I throw her out the room and close the door. And I would do this when she was younger. She would try and mess on like the curtains or jump on the curtains or jump on stuff. And I just wouldn't tolerate it. So I'd take her, I'd put her outside, and I'd close the door. And when she was young, she would meow. And I would wait for the meowing to die down.
Uh-huh.
Then when it died down, I'd let her in. And then, so I did that a lot. And so now when she does it, I throw her out. I don't actually throw her. I grab her and take her out the room and then close the door. She now knows that the door doesn't close all the way. So I don't ever open the door. She just pushes it open herself and then comes back in. And she usually falls asleep. She's like, okay, I get it.
Aw. You training her.
Yeah, so she's gotten pretty good. But she is not the topic of our episode for today. As much as I'm sure a lot of you love cats. My cat lovers out there, dog lovers out there, still love them both. Oh yeah, that's right. That was a gift. It's from Roma. It's a gift from Emily. Today's topic. I don't know how to ask the question, so we're just going to kind of say it how I have it written. What does it mean to live your full expression? And I like this topic. I say this on every single one because I like all the topics. Just like life topics in general, I guess. I think they're fun. I think they're cool to ponder about. I think they're interesting to kind of come up with different perspectives, and like everyone's got their own personal take on things. So I think that's really cool too. I did want to also mention that if you watch the Akashic Record episode, side note, if you watch the Akashic Record episode and DM'd me a photo of you subscribing to the channel for your discount, I'm also going to up that by another 5 if you go ahead and share the podcast to somebody.
That's
So you
sick,
just share
dude.
it on your social media. I'll give you another 5 off.
Dang, man.
So we'll
Keep 'em
toss
coming.
that in there. A little like, you're going to have to go back and see what it was. But
Yeah.
I'll throw an additional if you share it either on your social or with somebody, and just let me know if you shared it. Or tag me if you do it on social media at Swim with Sepsey. Tag the show.
Nice.
Anyways, back to the life expression. Living your full expression. Live your full. So that's actually where I got the acronym for life coaching, the LYFE.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Life with one- yep.
Live your full expression.
Nice.
So yeah, I took that and now I call it life coaching, LYFE. Live your full expression coaching.
That's cool.
Which is really just a guide for me to help you understand that you've always had this full expression of you inside. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you just choose not to show it. And that could be shame, it could be fear, it could be society's expectations of what it's supposed to look like. But everyone talks about, just be authentic and, live your full expression, whatever that it may be. And like, some people are like, well, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Or have never considered them not living their full expression.
Dang.
Ooh.
I didn't even think about that, dude. Like, you think there's people out there who... Because I was about to ask you, one of the first questions that just popped in my head right now is like, when you think of like not living your full expression, maybe you're past that already in your life stage, but do you ever look back on like something being and like feel like you're not expressed, or you have some kind of blockage that's not permitting you from expressing yourself in any way, whether it's like emotional, like creative, or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
personality or whatever, like. But anyways, that's another interesting question is like, do you even think that you're not even, like, do you even know that you're not living your full expression?
Being authentic, yeah.
Damn.
What? So your question was like about blockages?
Just you personally, yeah.
Oh, me personally?
Yeah, just to start it off, because like,
yeah.
I was actually curious, like, have you ever
okay.
dealt with that, or like?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of times. I mean, like, it was slowly like opening up things. Like, I used to not really communicate my feelings with people. I would be I would be the very passive martyr. Oh, it's my fault. It's not a big deal. Like, don't even worry about me. Like, it's only about you. And like, so I was a very big people pleaser in like a lot of my relationships, and just like even friendships too. Like, I would, so there was a lot of like boundary parts, and that's also part of being authentic, is by knowing your own personal boundaries and like living that full expression with, okay, this is what I deserve as respect part for me. So that was something I dealt with really early on. I guess not speaking. It was a lot of communication things for me. When I was younger, like, couldn't talk to my parents about certain things. Now I don't give a shit. Not saying I don't, but like, I tell them like things straight up. Like, I remember when they were talking to me when I was first getting into everything, I told them, I was like, I don't know, Mom. And like, I was on the phone with my mom. She's like, I think, things were getting really bad. And she's like, I think you should just move back home and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Mom, I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels like I'm being led. Like, the best way I can explain it to you is it feels like I'm communicating with God and I have to follow this. I have to see what's going on, right? And that was me just being like, not ashamed of the connection that I have and the connection that I feel like I have. And again, personal experience. You can look at me and say you don't have that connection. That's great. Don't care. I personally feel that. And so that was kind of like a big breakthrough. I think when you start communicating your internal dialogue and your internal feelings of how you feel on certain subjects, when you start like communicating that out loud to yourself first, and then like you start doing it with others that you feel comfortable with, that you trust, that's when you can start to... Oh, nice. The ice cream,
ice cream truck? I was wondering.
That's going to be going on for a few minutes, so just as a forewarning. There's a school right there, and they get let out of school around this time. And so he comes and makes bank and sells ice cream.
Dang. What a nice side hustle, bro.
Yeah.
Go grab an ice cream, everybody. Come back and enjoy the
Nice.
episode.
He only takes cash. So I got to have cash on hand.
Yeah.
But I think that's one way that I really worked through my own inauthenticity. I guess that would be the best term. But I'd also say, just like we talked about in the last episode, that like your purpose morph and changes. What is your self-expression? What is your fullest expression is going to change throughout your life. Does that make sense? So it's going to take... it gets to a point, though... We'll say this. So it changes throughout your life. Reason being is because you're discovering parts of you every day. And as you grow older, you're discovering parts that no longer serve you when you were younger. And so that's no longer part of what you express as who you are. You know, when I was younger, I would drink a lot of alcohol. I don't do that anymore. That was a part of my self-expression. That was a part of an expression. May not be of my fullest expression, but that was a part of my expression. It's also a way of dealing with a lot of things. Then there's also when you get into, I don't know, there's just a lot of different ways to express yourself. So I started dabbling in like art. So when I started making music and putting it out there, I guess I also just didn't, I always had this mentality of getting into this place of like, it took me a while. I guess it took me a while. Okay. I developed this mentality, and it started with certain things. And this is where I was wanting to go earlier with this question, was because like in high school, at first, it was, I cared a lot about what people thought about me, like as a person. I was very cautious.
That was so cute.
She's so crazy. She's going to take a little cat nap. Oh.
I wonder if they could see him in the camera angle.
I hope so.
I'm sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to see him.
Baby. So when I was in high school, middle school was a rough time for me. I remember I wanted hair like this.
Really?
Bro, I used to have like a fro, and every time I'd get out of the shower, I'd brush it back, have it kind of long. I'd be like, ooh, yeah, that looks like slick back, looks cool. And I had it pretty long, too, because I had like really long curly hair. But the haircut that was in at the time was like the curls coming off. You know, you had like kind of long, guys had like long hair, or at least some kids had like long hair with like curls that would come off. So I would do that, brush it back. I loved it. And then I would shake it off and then put a hat on and go to school because it would dry with like curls. So I did that.
Okay.
And that was like that was like my staple thing or whatever. I don't know. But I like fed into that because so many people like also liked it, and I get complimented and it looked good. But I like deep down, I always wanted hair like this. I always wanted hair like this. It didn't happen until before COVID. I just decided to do it. But at high school, it started with like clothes. Like I used to wear certain clothes in middle school. When I got to high school, I started just to not give a flying F anymore. And I'd wear sweatpants, and it would just started with that as like kind of like not caring, just like what I wore. I just was like, I just want to be comfortable. As long as I'm comfortable, that works for me. So like you'll catch me like I'll still even just try and be as comfortable as I can in what I wear. I don't really wear jeans anymore. I just like certain things. And so that was like early on. And then as time bore on, then I started getting into expressing myself creatively with like music, because back then I used to write poetry, but I would never really share it in high school. I would also like make raps, like using other beats and like just filling in the words, almost like a Weird Al kind of style.
Yeah.
I remember I wrote a rap for like a girlfriend of mine at the time to like Dear Ann by Lil Wayne. I think it was like an apology or something.
Oh, dang. You ended up performing it for her?
I did.
Did you take it back?
I think so. I don't know. It was a good one. But like, so like I did that a lot, but like I didn't, till I got out here did I finally get over this place of I'm just going to share it with everybody. Don't care what anyone thinks, but I love what I've been making and I love this creatively, and so I'm going to put it out there. And now it's taking a different form into this podcast, as like just putting out everything. And this is, I think, more a better space for me to be completely just, here's Joshua Sepsey on a freaking billboard form. This is probably most authentic that I've developed in like since I was a kid. So pure, unadulterated. I'm just kidding. But for a long time though, like you don't know what's not your self-expression. Like when you're growing up, you're still trying to find out who you are, you know, what you're desiring to do with your life, like, you know, that all feeds into how you're going to express yourself into the world. And so if you don't have a handle on that or take the time to sit and think about that for yourself, a lot of the times you're just going with the motions of what everyone else around you is doing. And so if that's never been brought into your awareness, it goes back to the question that I was like, some people don't know that they're even not living an authentic or, full expressed life from them. I never lit this, by the way. I'm going to light this really quick.
It's a good time.
What about you? What was your journey like as far as like coming out to like self-expression for you? Like, what did you have to overcome to like finally be like, all right, I can be Nicki?
It's really similar, kind of on the basic level where it's like people pleasing, and I feel like I still deal with that a lot, people pleasing, but because sometimes I get confused about like what unconditional love is for another person, so I get blinded by that a lot, so I don't put up as many boundaries probably that I should personally. But growing up, I would say like self-expression, like it probably started out, like if I really thought about it, like where I could trace it back the furthest is like when I started to like maybe get into high school, because I feel like up until junior high I kind of was like just like I kind of just said whatever I wanted to. I was like just like always trying to make people laugh and like just like try to just do some goofy shit to just make people just. Were
you
like,
the class clown?
It was weird because it was like but I was super shy too. I was like a super shy person in front of my like teachers. So like my teachers never really knew I was like a loud kid, but like my friends would always just be like dying. And then I was also a good student too. But through high school, I feel like something changed where like I started to care more about like my perception of myself and like what I looked
like the outside perception,
perception. Yeah.
Okay.
I for some reason, and I'm trying to think like what even made me look at it myself differently. But probably just like puberty and stuff. But
yeah,
like I remember because I dress like pretty masculine now, or just more like just not really, I don't really care as much. But I remember when I started high school, I would wear like skirts, dresses. Like I was
don't
really.
think I've ever seen you in a
Dude,
skirt or a dress.
I know. I'll show you pictures though. Like, but I just remember the feeling that I had during all of that was just like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like I just
really?
felt always uncomfortable. But I did that for years because I was like, and I just like slowly kind of chopped it down to like, okay, maybe I'm not wearing like super girly, like bohemian style that I kind of started with. So it was like flowy like dresses and skirts. Then I was like, I still don't really feel like myself. And I hated going shopping for clothes when I was younger.
Oh, yeah?
Like I remember like I hated it because I was like, dang, I don't even know like
What you liked?
what I like. I could see myself like trying stuff on, and I'm like, I guess I like this. It looks okay, but I never felt like just myself, like just
Yeah.
feeling myself, like when you're really just feeling like, oh man, that's
I
Nicki.
look good. Like,
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Hit all those angles. Pop it.
Yeah, dude.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it starting out was like trying to deal with like what was accepted, kind of what was like trending at the time, kind of like with your hair and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, so like kind of middle of high school is like, okay, my fashion's going like more, maybe I'm not going to wear dresses, but I'm still going to dress girly in a way where I'm
Okay.
still wearing like short shorts and then like just crop tops and like kind of like that vibe or like a more grungy look. But then I still felt like, man, why do I just feel like I'm just, I don't know, like I just still was uncomfortable and I felt it, but I just still kept doing it because like I cared about a lot of other things outside of me. Like I didn't care about that I was uncomfortable. I didn't care that like
Yeah, you kind of just like sucked it up.
and just did it because I thought it was what I wanted, at the time.
Yeah.
And that's the weirdest part, I think, is like you think you want something, but then once you realize that like, I don't know, like it's not actually making you happy or like you're feeding something that you think is making you happy, but it's like actually just something that's kind of closing you off.
Put you in a box.
Yeah, putting you in a box. But I feel like for a while, like the way I wanted to express myself was like something happened where I started thinking more about like the things that I said, and so I feel like a lot of like throat chakra stuff, like, and also like sacral chakra. I feel like
like creativity, expression, sexual
creativity,
expression, those kind of things. Yeah.
all those things, because I feel like I didn't have a problem with that until like something happened where I started like closing myself off or like thinking about a lot of about how I was expressing myself, like how people were perceiving me. I think I started thinking more about like, how am I coming off? Am I coming off as like, I don't know. I think I just got super convoluted with a bunch of thoughts where I thought they were me. And I kept coming in with like feelings, like you said, like guilt, shame,
Yeah.
like more these negative things, and it kind of just suppressed me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely, I feel like that's a lot of people's journeys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like for some people, they can find it like right away. And like I remember people that kind of could find it early on and just didn't, just would do their own thing. But I also feel like to the point where, like when you're talking about expressing yourself, a lot of the times we talk about the external things because that's what's being perceived. Not a lot of times when we're talking about living a full expression, do we think about, are my thoughts in line with the way I act? Are my choices that I make also part of my values, the things that I, desire to be in my life, the things I desire to live as? What about like activities I engage in, or people you still talk to? like relationships. Like I realized that even the people that you talk to are part of like your self-expression, if that makes sense.
Because, like, you mean, like, they pull something...
Because it's like they're like, in my personal experience, I mean, what I believe is like everyone's like a mirror for you, right? So the people that you actively engage with and like consider like your good friends and are also a reflection of how you yourself would express, in a certain degree. I'm not saying they're like your full expression, right? That is still like a personal experience. Like you can still be yourself in a group of the people you're around. But it also goes to show how much you decide to like allow, if that makes sense. Like, for example, I could have a friend that we don't agree on a lot of things, and they may be someone that is really in their values. They're really down to earth, but they live a lifestyle completely different than mine. The way that I'm saying that they're a part of like my self-expression is because I may live a different life, but I also am the same way in the terms of having those core values down to myself, having those boundaries, being very intellectual in my thoughts. So in that space, they are also like, you would know when someone's living as that space of full expression, that the people that they surround themselves with are most likely also going to be on that level, if not higher or somewhere around there as well. They're not going to try and bring, in a public sense. That's just like a kind of that's a really big stretch, but I've never thought about that before. So I wanted to understand what they meant by that, by diving into that. And that's kind of like, they're just like minor things. But I think most everyone deals with this, like the dressing, what you wear, right? And like, I got to a point where like, even that doesn't matter. Like, I've worn women's clothing before. I didn't feel comfortable in it, maybe because it wasn't comfortable as clothing. Like, but
yeah, it's not.
I'm definitely not. I definitely like thought about it. I was like, that's not something I would want to wear every day.
Yeah.
Right. I remember when I was in high school, we had to do a music video for class, our history class, and you had to pick a song, and we did a Rise Against song, Heroes of War. And it's like, Heroes of War, yeah, that's what they say. And when I come home. And so we did this whole thing, and like, I planned it all out. And like, I remember there was one scene where there was a woman, and she was like supposed to be walking towards these warriors or whatever. And she gets like gunned down.
Oh, damn.
And so my buddies had Nerf guns, and I was like, I didn't even think twice. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to ask like someone else. Like, I have this vision. Here's what we're gonna do. Like, I borrowed like a wig from my sister or something, and like a dress from my mom, and like went out and did it. And I remember they put it when they were showing it, because they had to show it to the whole school. So many people were like, "Who's that girl that you guys got in there?" And I was like, that was me.
That's
actually
hilarious.
I was like, that's funny. Just goes to show you how it doesn't really matter. Like, and like that, I think, was definitely something that showed me it doesn't matter, what you wear. Like, we've decided this space, though, that there's a separation. We've decided to put on a separation of men's and women's clothing. The designers are very different. There's some women that love to wear those things. There's some men that love, to wear what they wear, and like, more power to you. But I'm just saying that there's like this space, and like men's clothing, like, this is rare for you to find something that's colorful. I don't find many things that have a lot of color. I like color. I try not to wear as many black, but I tend to still have that because I just can't find good stuff. So maybe I gotta go thrifting more because this was a good thrift. But when it comes to like a deeper perspective of that, because like I also personally don't necessarily care. Like you remember, like when we were doing the videos and wanting us to like dress up a little bit. I was like, I don't care. Like if you really are gonna sit there and go to receive a message or go to get a reading or something like that, I get there's a level of professionalism, but we've also created this.
Yeah.
Mind you, we've also decided to create that. We have neglected what the actual value of the person can bring, no matter what the hell they're wearing.
Yeah.
We were like immediately judged by our eyes and say, based on what you're wearing, I don't think you can provide me what I can, when that person probably could be like this true mystic that just like would blow your mind and heal your fucking all of your wounds, right? So there's like this perception that we put on it, and like that person could be being as authentic as possible because you just have this preconceived judgment notion of, based on what you're wearing, you can't help me, or you can't, you're not fit out for this, right? This job or something like that, which I find is very interesting because that's not for me personally, and this probably doesn't go to everybody because I know some people deal with self-expression on a whole different levels. You go into, when you start getting into people with gender dysphoria, people who I guess that would be kind of the only one that's like a real extreme where you're changing your body image, so that way you can feel and express yourself in that space. Because I've also dealt with that, and that was a whole thing. But I think when you actually get to the space of what self-expression is, it has nothing to do with the external. It has everything to do with the way you communicate, with your values, the way that you act in the world, so the way that you go about your business. So if you say you want to have a routine, you want to do these things, you wake up, you have yoga, that's part of your expression. You go out and you bring it to the world. If you want to be a yoga teacher, or you're a singer, you're a musician, you're an artist, or maybe you just love numbers and so you're a finance geek, or you do one of those things. And so I think a lot of those people that are and I love that social media is one thing, because of this fact that allows everyone to be able to share their passions. And that fuels me. Like when I see someone that's loves what they do and they're doing it to the best of their abilities, that brings a freaking smile on my face. Because like you are truly being authentic at that moment. You're truly just giving your all to everything that you got, whether it's freaking rollerblading or being the greatest garbage delivery guy who is really nice about the way they do the bins, and I don't know, you have some sort of cool technique, but you love it because you're cleaning up the city or the town or whatever, all the trash. I don't know, whatever whatever that may be. So there's different ways to like do that, and I think seeing people explain things about their little hobbies. Like I love Magic the Gathering, like, and D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons, like video games. Like I'm a big freaking nerd when it comes to it. And like you see me, like I light up.
Yeah,
I like light up talking
right
about that. Like, it's just so much fun for me. Like I love diving into those and like the mechanics of the game, and like chess is so much fun. It's like I love all these things that like challenge. Yeah. Like, so I fully support anyone that has like a love like that or a passion like that and encourage to, if you don't have anything like that right now, if that's something that's not in your life, go back to your childhood. What did you do when you were a kid? Did you read? Did you go play tag? Maybe you need to go run, or go find some people. Go to like they have like adult arcades, like, or you go to like those giant things where they have like the jungle gyms where you're like hung up on a rope, not hung up, but you're like strapped into like this thing and you're doing all these obstacle courses.
Wow.
Like they have those things. Like maybe go try one of those.
Yeah.
And see if that's something you love
Spark
to do.
something.
Yeah, and like so. Go back to your childhood and
Wow.
reminisce on things that allowed you to just have fun and be free. Because when you're a kid, you don't have all these self-imposed judgments yet. So all of that energy is still in there, right? All we are is just a grown form of our child selves. So all that's still in there. So when you tap into that energy, you go, okay, how can I bring that into my life now? And what that's going to do over time, say it's basketball. I used to love playing basketball as a kid, right? And I haven't played in a freaking minute, and it kind of makes me sad. But I also have a lot of other things that I do that still give me a lot of joy. But basketball was one thing that I would do just to get out of my head and get the body movement, and it would really allow me to think. So if you're someone like that, like I would recommend it is go playing basketball, go doing that hobby that you used to do as a kid, and watch how your thoughts begin to change about how you feel about yourself. Watch how your inner world begins to take on a different sort of tone. No more is it this space of hiding behind or not being able to, you're tiptoeing around other people or people pleasing. You have something that, can bring out that love inside of you and that joy. And you can harness that. And I always recommend doing that because that's like an anchor point when you're talking about like emotions and feelings, and you're talking about sitting in the space of depression. Well, people sit in that space, they just don't know what to do. They don't know who they are. They don't understand, what's going on in their lives, and they can't pinpoint it. Again, they're in this space of guidance without direction. And so if you root back to the self, I remember my grandfather said this. He said, always go back to your root. And that's what he told me when I remember that stuck with me, and I was like, so what is the root of who I am? And like, it's all the things I used to love doing as a kid. Now how do I fit that into this expression of an adult? For me, that's magic cards. I used to play Pokemon when I was a kid. Still actually have Pokemon cards. And then basketball, and then I loved writing and poetry, and so that turned into music, and then it turned into this. It turned into just me just loving to learn. And so, like, I'm definitely excited to get more guests on here.
Yeah.
Because I want to understand how, I love hearing about how people think. And the way they formed a perception around the world, and like kind of challenging that a little bit, kind of playing devil's advocate, making you think of like different things that you might not have thought of before, to like maybe spark something in your mind that's going to open up this whole other world for you. And maybe that's where your full self-expression is hidden. It's been bogged down from just not having this awareness of other thoughts. That going back to this space of conditional free will. You can only express yourself as much as you know and are aware about who you are.
Dude, that's a great point to just jump off of right there, because I was just thinking, I was kind of pondering what you said about your grandpa saying like going back to your roots, and it sparked like a saying in my mind where I will tell myself, like, you gotta know where you came from to know where you're going, kind of thing. And I see where, like, it's, man, sorry, my mind is just blowing up right now.
I can see it. It's cool.
Thank you. I was like, thinking about just how right you were about like things that make you purely happy. Like that's why you go back to thinking of like stuff you used to do as a kid, and that'll help you like get direction.
Yeah.
I literally just saw like I was going through old photos with my mom, and I saw this photo of me just on a little BMX bike.
Oh, really?
And that was before my tragic accident where I just like totally I was bombing this hill, and like I ate shit so sorry, pardon my language, but I just like ate shit so bad. Shit again. And I got like road rash all over my arms, my face. But dude, I love riding my bike, and I need to move my body too to be like just to I don't even know. Like if I feel too cooped up, like if I haven't moved around a lot, like I just feel stuck. But it's cool that you said that, because I literally just had that moment like the other day, just seeing myself on the bike, and I've like kind of didn't put it together how much I used to ride my bike when I was little, and now I'm like trying to get into BMX. And I'm like, dude, I love riding my bike. Like I want to kind of learn some tricks, like get a little more creative with it. And but anyways, going back to like the root part, like to know, like knowing where you came from to know where you're going is like so crucial to me, because a lot of the time when I'm facing some kind of like self-judgment in my self-expression of where I'm like overthinking, like literally just putting myself in a box to where I can't express myself, like just putting some kind of shackle on myself, like whether it's like, damn, I shouldn't be doing this right now because what are other people going to be thinking? Like, is it disturbing them in any kind of way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel like going back to roots, like, I feel like you kind of have to know, like, exactly who you are and be okay with every single thing, every single action, every single whatever imperfection that you may think is imperfect or whatever. Like, I feel like the biggest thing is like of being authentic is just knowing like, okay, well, what have your challenges been like in this life? And that's valid, that like you can stand on that, and like you can like use that like to overcome like when your mind is so focused on like, no, I can't do this. Like, what are people going to think? Like, it's good to go back to your roots and see what all the things you've overcome and kind of been through, like things, whatever you've like dealt with hasn't been easy. So instead of seeing the negative side of it and being like, keep letting it break you down, like you can use that as a fuel to be like, well, at least I know, at least like, I don't know, at least I know like what happened, and now I can like make a different choice. So it kind of gives you like that reflection to be able to like know where you're going and be able to actually stand with confidence in like in the actions that you're taking. Because sometimes I feel like a lot of the judgment comes from just not being confident in your decisions, to just like, I don't know, I'm gonna say express myself, but I want to be more specific sometimes. So but I definitely think that's crucial in what you were saying, like about knowing who you are.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that was a great, like when you talked about the confidence part, and knowing, I think the using the past, like the mistakes as fuel, like so many times, I think it might be, do you think it's because like people focus too much on the negative thing itself instead of how they overcame it? Right? Yeah. They're focusing on that past problem that they used to have instead of like, oh, I did this to overcome it. Look what I can do. You know?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the things from the external world and like society, like at the same time you're experiencing your life and you're going through these challenges and learning lessons, at the same time you have all this noise and outside junk that like you don't really know like where maybe your true voice is at the time. So like you get kind of confused. So you say like, oh, I don't want to do bad things. Like maybe you made a mistake, but now you don't want to do bad things. So now you're kind of dimming your light in a way to where maybe that wasn't the problem, or like you're focusing on a problem that wasn't the problem, but you're instead just kind of like losing parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And then,
I'll bet you we do that all the time.
yeah.
Just repress parts of ourselves that are actually our biggest strengths and stop us from being able to express, what we actually desire in life. It's probably why people have a very hard time when it comes to like such an overused word, manifestation. But when you're working on building and creating the life that you desire, there has to be a space of authenticity and true self-expression in there. Otherwise, all it's going to do is come at a space of like this hard willpower and working yourself to death, and then you might end up completely lonely and not being able to share it with anybody. You may be dealing with something like that. I don't know, just kind of probably went off a different tangent, but I think definitely knowing where you have been is a big part. And I think, we don't spend too much time on the how you overcame things. So that might be where they get the disconnect on what the actual problem was.
I see.
Like you're saying,
yeah.
like you said, how you might dim your light because you're like, oh, I was people pleasing and that's my problem. When maybe it was just you didn't really know how to communicate your boundaries. And so then how you communicated your boundaries, but you're looking at this problem of people pleasing, and that wasn't really the issue. It was the self-person issue of, I don't know how to communicate a healthy boundary. And so now I overcame that by creating that healthy boundary. And now I've actually been doing that in my life. Oh my God, I am actually able to stand on that. And that's where I'm able to be who I am. I'm not a people pleaser, and then you can kind of shed that off like, okay, now I know that I wasn't always, or like I'm no longer a people pleaser, right? You still cling on to that if you're not realizing that or you're focusing more on the negative than you are on the positive. You're focusing on the negative of people pleasing than the positive of having a healthy communicative boundary for self. Yeah. Self-expression is interesting. Living an authentic life is also interesting. There was one quote. Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing this back. So I watched this clip on After School. It's a YouTube channel, and they're awesome. They do like these clips, but they like put everything on a whiteboard, and someone narrates and he draws it out, and he's just really great artists, and they're really cool.
Oh, nice.
So,
that's sick.
shout out After School. But so I was watching this episode they had on Emanuel Kant, and he lived in the early 1600s, I want to say. I don't know, a long time ago. But he was basically this, I guess you can call him a philosopher. But he challenged a lot of ideologies. I am no way, shape, or form trying to give you any information about Emanuel Kant, only because I only watched this one episode.
Yeah.
And I thought what he brought to the world was really cool. It was this, he was trying to gain this way of living so that way we can live this world cohesive, peaceful place, right? We create that. And it was something along the lines of, if you are using, I'm going to butcher this, so please someone Google this. If you are using another human as a means to bring about an end, which is an outcome. So the way it explained, that's the kind of rough terminology that he used. But really he's saying if you're using people, another person, as a way to get an outcome, then that is wrong. So he was trying to basically get like this space of like right and wrong in the way we treat people. Can you not? Hey, stop eating the plants. And so that was the thing, is like if you're using someone to that sense, like, stop it. Come on.
Man.
So I just like that, because that was a way where if you're being, authentic and true to yourself, you don't necessarily have to use people like that, right? You're only using it for their own gain. And I just saw Kung Fu Panda 4, and they have that referenced in there.
Wow, really?
Not referenced to Emanuel Kant,
Yeah.
referenced the thing of like using others.
Okay.
And it was a really cool relationship between Poe and the little squirrel. She's in the preview, so I'm not going to give any spoilers, but great. I love Freya. Can you not? Stop it. So I would say when you're in this journey of doing your best to live an authentic life, start to pause in the way that you respond to others and see if the response that you're wanting to give is serving also you.
Can I bring something up that's kind of personal, but like it's just crazy because like even after like where I feel like I've worked on some stuff, I've like just had a realization not that long ago where I'm still kind of doing that, and sometimes I don't even realize, but that's a great way to start asking yourself when you're talking to another person, like, because sometimes I kind of just notice, maybe it's my sign, being a Pisces too, kind of really go with the flow, like, it has to do with it maybe, but I notice sometimes when I'm talking to people, like, if they're putting off a certain vibe, I kind of reflect it, not on purpose, but just because, like, that energy's there, and, like, I think it's just probably natural for people to do that, but, like, sometimes I'll say something and I'll let something slip, and it's pretty subtle, but it's like I'll only notice it when I'm like in the moment, maybe having a conversation with someone, or it's kind of just like in the moment.
Like, are you reflecting the energy in a good way, or like you're reflecting just like how they are acting?
I don't know. It's something like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, for instance, like I've had multiple occasions where I could see, like, I say something that's inauthentic and I know it because I'll have a feeling like, why did I say that? That's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
I know that I don't really mean it, but I still said it. And one of my values is that I'm always going to be honest, transparent, like try to say everything that I mean, like, or say what I mean. Those are my values. But sometimes when I'm really kind of like in the moment having a conversation, sometimes I'll say something like that I feel is kind of reflecting an energy that they're putting out there that like I'm not quite aware of yet, but I will be because I said this thing to kind of make me aware that isn't authentic for me. It's maybe that's where a boundary can come in. Maybe that has to do with my boundaries.
Yeah.
Maybe that's that lesson.
You just talked it out.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. But anyways, sorry guys, I had to figure that out.
No, I'm sure a lot of people do the same thing. Like, they're like, why did I just say that? I didn't. It's not really who I am. And a lot of times that just feeds into that, people pleasing or wanting to look a certain way to others so you can kind of fit in. But I've noticed, like, when you're doing that, there's always a hidden intention of, or there's an insecurity. I guess there's a couple things that could play into. Some of them could be like a hidden intention of you're wanting to get in with this person because they have XYZ connection, and that's going to help you propel maybe in a career or in this or that. And so you work on that. And then there's also the insecurity portion where you're doing it out of a lack of personal self-respect. Because you don't respect yourself enough to stand wholly in your boundary.
I could see that.
So I like, there's a couple people that I met that are real when they're really in that. You can just feel it. You can feel that they're not going to budge. You know, that's just who they are. And I love meeting those people because then I know that I myself am becoming more authentic every day. Like just more and more of who I am and being able to speak who I am and just like laying it down and like, this is how I want to live my life. And this is, you know, these kinds of things. And so it does make me, because you're attracting that, you know, that's just life. But there is a lot of inner work that has to happen in order for you to kind of understand what your self-expression could really look like. And so, again, encouraging starting with that journal. You know, what would you do as a kid? Where do you feel like you let some of yourself go so that either others can be okay? Because when you are able to be in a space of authenticity and you're doing it in a space of love, right, instead of being like an asshole, you know, it's going to allow that person who may also be struggling with a self-expression to probably have a spark of like, wow, that person really laid down the law or stood themselves in space or just showed me what it was like to fully express themselves. And so that might trigger them now to like look internal. So I guess there's like a ripple effect that can happen as you begin to practice it. And it's a practice. I mean, look at parts of yourself where you may not be able to express yourself fully. And I would start small, like start with the people you know and you love and the ones that would care for you, and allow you to be in that space, because at the end of the day, that's where you get the most respect. That's where you get the most value from other people, is when you yourself respect yourself enough to be authentic and to live your life the way that you say you're going to live your life.
I love that, bro.
Yeah.
I love that a lot.
Yeah.
It reminds me, so like, I think of my grandpa a lot right now, because like, he talks a lot about like your true expression or whatever, just being like love passing through you and being able to like actually express itself through you, and like being able to let it flow. Because like I was kind of reflecting again about like when I was younger, and it was so much easier for me to get into this blissful state where I notice around me I'm uplifting people. I'm literally not even in a space of being able to even let a thought of like, what are people thinking about me right now into that space. I could easily connect with that like authenticity of like the bliss of just being like in the moment. And I was just thinking like, in times that I've had a harder time now, maybe that I've just gotten older and just life wears you down. I feel like
putting on some mileage.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest thing I like have to tell myself is sometimes the first thing that comes up, if you're like wanting to get in those spaces and you want to like just feel yourself again, is like an act of courage. And like, because I feel like a lot of the time when it comes down to the very moment of you like making a choice, I feel like the fears, like the pattern of what comes in a lot of the time, so like in that moment of whatever your thought is, or whatever the fear, the belief of you not being able to do it, or just like maybe making a fool of yourself, or just sounding stupid, or whatever the insecurity is, like that little hump. I think even, I don't remember if it was this episode you're talking about, the wall, like you look over the wall and you see. So like it's kind of like that, where it's like that little hump of like all you really need is just that little moment of like, just like, I'm gonna do it because it's gonna make me happy. Otherwise, when you keep kind of letting that fear win, you kind of dig yourself deeper into a hole of like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't express myself.
You start to believe that more and more.
Yeah. And then it gets harder for you to actually make that move. It's a larger leap, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. It becomes like a canyon instead of a wall. Mm-hmm. It becomes, you're just stuck in this.
And it's literally all just in your mind, though.
All in your head. That's what I'm saying. The external part of like self-expression don't really matter that much. Mm-hmm. It's just that we decide, well, society's decided to live in a space of external reality. So now that we're shifting things internal and understanding that everything kind of starts with self, you know, to make the changes that we want to see in the world, people are actually starting to take their own work a little serious, which is nice to see, you know, because more and more people are starting to be authentic and just be real and just be straight up, and that's beautiful, because that's what we need to be able to live in a world where we can communicate effectively, you know, work out whatever these separation problems that we have throughout the entire globe. And, you know, ow, stop it. You don't want to play right now. So I think we're going to end there, though. So this is a great point. I think that overcoming those walls and that thought process can definitely become, I don't want to say like a crutch, but it can kind of dig you into this space of believing that's your only expression, you know, this fear, and that you can't ever overcome it. Which is, again, it's a lie. It ain't real. All right, we're going to call it time of death.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know why. I think I'm just gassed. I think I'm just tired. But
I feel that.
I appreciate everybody for tuning in. It got really hot, and I'm just exhausted due to back-to-back episodes. Thank you guys for, you know, everyone that subscribes. Appreciate all of you guys. Again, remember, go ahead and watch the last episode. Get your discount. And then if you share it again to any social media, tag us at Swimming with Sepsey. I'll offer another additional discount on top of that. Just let me know, and I'll send you that link to receive a reading of your choice. Yeah, I love you all. Per usual.
Express yourself.
Oh, we should play that song. I don't know. I'll probably get hit with some copyright shit, but
yeah, but you know it's in there.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah. Go ahead and put that song out right now. All right, much love.
Bye.
Signing off. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Swimming with Sepsey. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and follow us on our YouTube channel, or listen on all platforms or wherever you get your podcasts. Any support is greatly appreciated. You can find us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/swimmingwithsepsey. You can also follow us on Instagram at swimmingwithsepsey. And if something did arise today, maybe you need some clarification or want some help or just need some guidance and don't know where to go, feel free to reach out to me via email, swimmingwithsepsey@gmail.com, or you can find my website at solelyliving.com, where I offer coaching packages, readings, and things of that nature. Again, thank you for tuning in. Very grateful. namaste, and we'll find you on the next episode of Swimming with Sepsey.